The city whispers under the signs of bow. Let's glow. The council gathers, it's puppets the show. Lines drawn on paper, they vanish unseen. South Garden sold to a machine. 6.3, a number to tell, a street up for sale to Sciento. Casting votes with a flick of a hand, a shadow creeps through the humbled land. Clearwater, the strip in your soul. Brick by brick, they swallow you whole. A worldwide voice, a call to stand against the grip of a forceful hand.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the stream. This stream, we're going to be focusing on street vacations. There's a lot of people out there that are hearing about street vacations for the first time. They have no idea what they are. They want to know particulars about what happened in Clearwater and what's going to happen, or possibly what they're trying to do in LA with L. Ron Hubbard Way. So without further ado, let's bring up Audit and let's get to it.
Hello, Ganja and chat. How's everybody doing today?
Okay, so let's just start off with the basics. What is a street vacation in like basic terms for someone that has no idea about anything?
Okay, a street vacation is when, say, a private entity like Scientology, they have a street or an area, it could be an alleyway that's attached to their building. But it's public. It's a public space, and they want the city to allow them to privatize it. So it would take it from city control to private control. I mean, they would still have to have easements with utilities and stuff like that. And there's certain, rules that they have to go by, but they would own L. Ron Hubbard Way if they get a street vacation, and the city would no longer have the same rights to it that they do now.
And even though it's vacation and vacation sounds like a temporary thing, it would be permanently theirs.
Correct, because I know a vacation sounds like, oh, maybe it's like a extended street closures, or maybe like the permits, that's a vacation. No, it's very separate. It's where the city is vacating, permanent vacate that area. So it's like, it's kind of like, I guess when you say you're vacating a city, or something, you're vacating somewhere, it's like you're permanently leaving it. And that's what it is. It's permanent.
All right. So we saw on Monday that Clearwater had a right of way vacation. Now, is that still a street vacation? Is that different? What do you know about that?
Okay, and mind you, I had to put, I am not an expert in
Right.
any of this stuff. I'm learning as I go as well. But a right-of-way vacation, from my understanding, it's not so much of a, like, say, a public street. It's a public right-of-way. Say, it could be maybe an easement, a park, or a green area, something where it's more pedestrian than vehicular.
Well, from what I saw, looking at South Garden Avenue in Clearwater, it looks kind of like a parking lot that you can drive straight through. I don't know, but
Right.
is
That makes
is
sense, because
more
that's a right-of-way, not an actual street.
right? So a right of way is something that's not an actual street, and even if it says like avenue, it's not a street per se.
Possibly, right. And don't mind, and also don't forget that this is Florida, not California. So every state may have different ways of
Right.
defining their terms. So we're just, I haven't caught up on it all yet, because this just was dropped on our laps, literally on your podcast, just a couple days ago. And so there's a lot to learn about it. And we've been so focused on LA, so I'm more knowledgeable about LA. And I do have
Yeah.
news for you.
Okay, we'll get to that a little
Okay.
bit later. Let some more people come in for that. I did a little bit of research after, but I wish we would have had time before to look into it more. but apparently they're trying to build L. Ron Hubbard Hall. And this has been something they've been trying to do for like maybe 10 years, at least 7 years. And it's going to be like this big auditorium. And um, let's see, I took a little screenshot for like a cheat sheet. Um, it says, according to 2018 plans submitted to the city, events currently held at Scientology's Fort Harrison Hotel will be relocated to the new hall. And then it says that it plans to have a parking garage and they already have 638 parking spaces or something. But they're saying all the stuff they're going to do with this L. Ron Hubbard Hall. And one thing I found really interesting, a lot of articles mention that it's going to be like all glass, all windows where you can see in. And I don't believe that. Maybe if they have blinds or something, because they don't let us see inside. But apparently this was like the beginning phase and there's stuff they got to do and they could lose this right of way vacation, right? Like, is that how you took it? That there's
Yes.
certain things they have to.
Well, from what my understanding, from what I understand, and like I said, I'm willing to be corrected if I'm wrong, is that right? They want to build this and this building, and if it's all going to be glass, it could be smoky glass where you don't actually see through it. It may just be a design feature. But what they see, there's a struggle with because they basically downtown Clearwater, it became a ghost town, and they own so much of the property, so the city desperately wants a thriving downtown. And so I think that Scientology says, well, you know what, we need this because if we build this, oh, there's going to be restaurants, there's going to be stores, there's going to be all this stuff. So it's going to give you the thriving downtown that you want. And, we get this new complex that we want. So let's work together. It's going to be glorious, but we need this space because this space is important. And you guys don't really need it. It's not really, and that's where people think, oh, it's not really a beneficial thing. Why not? Why not give up this piece of land, for a prosperous downtown? But the problem is that unless you really understand Scientology and how they have been deceptive, allegedly, and what they promise, you really can't, you can't really take them seriously. And I do believe that they are, in some level, the city is doing some due diligence, because their city attorney wrote it up that they're not just giving, like, that decision the other night did not give them what they wanted. It was the first step, but there's a lot of different steps beyond that. And I don't want to, I know there's another hearing coming up for another element. I'm not well versed on what that is, but they also have conditions. They have to open up or allow, like, businesses. So they said that they're working on it. They said that, but then again, with Scientology, yeah, they could look like they're fixing up these businesses and then do nothing. So we have to keep our eyes open if they're really making real progress, or is it just, a dog and pony show? And they also
So,
have to build the thing. So it depends on, once it's all done, then they
so
get their
what,
vacation.
what
So,
I think is they still have a chance to mess it up and
oh, huge
for it to
chance.
not go through. And I was looking at an article from the Tampa Bay Times. And it says that Scientology applied in November 2018 for a building permit to construct a $137 million auditorium on the 2-acre site on Garden Avenue that is now a vacant lot with a small office building. More than a year later, the church has not secured approval from the city of Clearwater to begin construction. The permit is held up because Scientology has not responded to minor feedback from the city. Requirements to install erosion control measures, tree barricades, are holding them up. So if if this is an older article and they had trouble getting the permits for the home, I kind of have a little bit of hope that they might not follow through with everything and maybe Clearwater will hold them accountable for some of this stuff. If they're delaying permits, like maybe there is
No.
hope.
Well, I have a lot of hope. I mean, I think we all felt hopeless that night, and we felt helpless. But no, when you start looking at it, there is hope, but it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of teamwork, a lot of diligence. Because one, and we're not there in the ground, so we really need people on the ground to monitor the work that they're doing on that street to see if these businesses are really being, or or do they just look like they're renovating, the restaurants or whatever it is, or are they actually doing it? And they actually have to build this thing, so they're not going to get this vacation for possibly 5 years down the road. So at any point we can say they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and push the city council, to overturn it, because they look, they promised restaurants, there's no restaurants, there's no, and really we need to look at all elements of it and become more educated. So we have time to get more educated on exactly what's required of them. And I'm hoping Mr. Bunker, or different people will, help inform us as to what exactly are all the elements and conditions, because I think there's a huge chance. Because, and they said, even though Mr. what is it, Mr. Cotton said, look, if they burn us, we'll never do it again, but we so desperately want this downtown revitalized that we don't feel like we're doing the best for our community if we don't give them a chance. Like, they're not looking at them as they're not looking at them how we would like them to look at Scientology. They're looking at it from just a more pragmatic business standpoint. Like, we need a thriving downtown. They can provide it, possibly. So we're willing to make concessions if they do it, but it's dependent on if they do it.
Right. Another thing I found is that I don't even want to call them the church. Scientology gained control of the property at 319 South Garden Avenue in 1993, and that year announced plans to build a sprawling auditorium. So this has been going on basically since 1993, according to this, and it's moving really slow. So hopefully, I don't know, the vote did not hand over South Garden to them technically yet. So
Not at
there is,
all. No, it was just step one.
it was something about how they were voting on whether or not to do it, but they weren't voting on doing it or not, if that makes sense. Different semantics mean different things, the way they word it. It's like it was a
Well, I
provisional
think they, but
situation.
I think, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I believe they were voting on whether or not to go with the program, the process, and let it begin it to see where it goes. But they absolutely did not say, here, we're handing you the street today. I think they were just agreeing to say, okay, let's join them in this process, and begin the process.
And one thing I noticed was that they talked about tourism, and they said that this will help tourism and it'll bring more people in. And okay, it might bring in more Scientologists, but regular people are avoiding Clearwater because of the control that Scientology has over the downtown area. People that live there outside of the downtown, they avoid downtown because of how much Scientology is there. If they really wanted to improve tourism, they should just get rid of that in the downtown and people will show up. Like, I
Yeah,
think it would be cool to have like a some type of like petition and put your name on it. If you're willing to go there, put your money into their city for tourism. If they get rid of Scientology's hold of downtown Clearwater, because it's the opposite of what the guy was saying, in my opinion.
yeah, I think they just feel that. It seemed to me they're like, oh, but this is a neighbor, and we gotta, no matter how people feel, we just need to make peace with them because we need this space. We need their help, or we need whatever. They're here, whatever their ideas are. But I agree with you. I think a lot of people might stay away because of it, because A, they don't have a thriving downtown. You have people on spring break. They don't want just the beaches. They want to be able to go to places. They want to go to restaurants and bars, and even though Scientology owns so many places that could be all those things, there it's not accessible to the public. So I think that's a great idea. Like, yeah, get a petition going, or let them know, even if it's write them like, hey, I'd be willing to come down there. I'd be willing to go on my spring breaks there, or I'd be willing to, even look into investment properties, whatever it is. I think that's a great idea to help the city, because they are struggling to become. They used to be a wonderful, like, I've been there before all this happened. It was a wonderful beach town. It was a great little place, but Scientology kind of ruined it for them.
Yeah, and I just want to say that Natalie did a really good video about it. It was part of her updates the day of the 17th on Monday. She explained it a whole lot better than I can. So if you want a bit more details, I would suggest going to look at her Monday recap. It was towards the beginning. But is there anything else that you want to say about Clearwater?
Well, I do believe, I have hope that they are aware of the arguments on both sides. I don't feel like they're as clueless. Like sometimes I feel in LA, like nobody knows what's really going on, so they're kind of clueless with everything because it's so big and expansive. But I am impressed that their city attorney wrote the agreement on like very strict conditions that can be monitored each phase, each step of the way. So that makes me feel like, okay, they get that there's issues here. They get that they can't give them trust and, from the get go and to say, okay, excuse me, we're just going to trust you with this. They know they can't trust them. They've been burned. But they're like one last ditch effort. We need to, with good faith, try. And because it wasn't just like, I know if everyone thinks that, oh, maybe they put a lot of money in these people, then I think they would have just rushed it through, but they're not. They are putting a lot of like step by step hoops that they have to go through. Excuse me,
Yeah,
but there's the other part. The concern is that I don't think they really see. I mean, they may see Scientology, but at the same time, I wish they'd make a more collective effort to hear, especially since they have people, victims that were there that are actually out down there and speaking out against what Scientology does. I wish they would take more of an effort to look at that end of it because I don't think, without investigating all the claims of victims, I don't think they should be relying on them to rebuild, their downtown. I think they're getting themselves into potentially a lot of, they're going to be known as the Scientology town, or, especially if things ever do, like say these protests get to the point where, the FBI or they, law enforcement does come and it's exposed, it's going to be a humiliation for that town. And I wouldn't want to side with Scientology at all.
I just hope that they do, you know, what they're supposed to in Clearwater and that they hold them accountable, they stick to what they said, and they they don't get manipulated. One more thing I want to point out about Clearwater. In this article, they mention a guy named Bob Duggan, Duggan, and he's a prominent Scientologist. And he said that he donated Deca millions to the LRH Hall project. And Deca millions means tens and tens of millions, multiple tens. So Bob Duggan seems to be super duper rich and funding this. And we know that there's whales out there that are funding a bunch of this stuff. But
Just him and his wife. I forget her name. Yeah, they're like have a whole lot of money for different things, and that does make a difference. I mean, but see, he could, instead of paying for this hall, right? He could be putting that money into buying storefronts and creating opportunities for private entity restaurants, because that's the other concern. And I hope they're not being blindsided that even if they open up all these restaurants, will the regular, visitors and public be able to, to go? Because look how they keep everyone out. Like, if you could have tickets to go to something, and if they don't feel that you pass their vibe check, if you're not Scientology, loving people, you can't even get in. So,
and
will the
that
regular
sounds,
public be able to eat at these restaurants?
that kind of sounds illegal. I'm not a lawyer. I never went to law school. I don't know, but it sounds like discrimination based on not having their religion. And I think lack of religion is covered by discrimination laws in most places. But I feel if they put you on a list or if they single you out based on the fact that you are not pro their religion, that could be a hate crime or discrimination, or I don't know the words for it, but I feel like there's something there that might be against the law.
For sure, and this is something, it's not conjecture because I was told personally I'm on this list, and I was personally denied access to a movie or whatever it is that they had going on because I am, on their list. But that could happen down there. Like they're going to, if they do follow through and open up their little downtown, is it going to be just for Scientologists? Like, will the outsiders, will people, college students on their spring break, be able to access these places? The whole point is to give the town, the city, for tourism, a downtown. But I don't believe that Scientology is going to do that. I believe they are going to make it their own little, as Jill, Amy says, Vatican City. And either if you're a part of Vatican City and you're one of the faithful, then you could go and you can enjoy, like the people who enjoy the cafe at Big Blue. They're not letting. I don't see them letting the regular public come and dine there like a restaurant. And I
Think
feel it's going to be
think
the same
not,
there.
because that food might, in my opinion, allegedly have some supplement, vitamin, niacin, something in it. I would not trust eating there as someone in the public. So I'm kind of glad, because people could unknowingly, if they do put something in their food to keep people in line a bit more.
Yeah,
Like I'm glad at least the public isn't like unwillingly going, and getting medicated on vitamins and not, I don't know. I don't know what they would do.
you're right.
That's
Well, it's
all I
like
would
I
know
I
for sure.
I I understand that, right? But the thing is that the whole point is to create, because what the city needs is it needs tourism, because it's a tax exempt, so they lose a lot of money from Scientology because it's tax exempt. But
So
but they
maybe
need tourism.
if someone wants to help and they aren't local to Clearwater, they could write and let them know that they really want to go visit, but Scientology is holding them back. And let them know your feelings, that if they made it even less prominent in downtown, that you would consider visiting. Like maybe that would have some slight influence in a way. Like you cannot call into the Clearwater meetings. It depends on the locals. They also do not let a lot of people speak. Sometimes they make people group up and have someone that's like a representative for a group speak, and it's really hard to actually speak. Um, Also with the Vatican, I heard Mark Bunker. He was talking about how Clearwater was becoming like the Vatican, and I heard several other people lately talking about that Vatican reference. And it really is. If you don't know about the Vatican, it's like the Catholic city within a city or whatever. And I'm not Catholic, so I don't know. I don't want to offend anyone with their beliefs with that. Like I don't want to say the wrong thing, but if you look at it, they are trying to take over, like the Catholics took over and made the Vatican.
Right. Well,
Um,
an interesting point about that is that the Vatican became its own city. It became its own jurisdiction, its own. So is that what they're trying to do? Where Clearwater will become just their city, where they govern it, where they're the government, they have their own governing body, and that's a scary thought. But it could be their intentions.
But okay, let's shift to something that we both know a little bit more about. You know way more about. Let's shift to LA and what's going on with L. Ron Hubbard Way. So where should we start with that? I don't even know. Are are there any? I don't know. Where do you want to start?
I can start
What's
you with the update I just got today from Council District 13's office. It's very interesting because I'm very, like, a lot of you may not know, behind the scenes I do a lot of emailing and communicating, and I just don't post everything because I don't always want to give my what I'm doing to OSA, because we know I've been told they watch everything we do. I know they watch everything, but from what I hear, they have not officially put in their request for the street vacation yet. Though I did remind them, I said, well, they hired a very high powered attorney, that one of the top land use attorneys in LA, to do so. So we're coming up against the heavy hitter. And so even if the paperwork isn't fully in yet, he has been retained, to the tune of like $40,000. So she said, well, they can't really do anything until it's put in because right now it's still, it's just still up in the air. So I said, that's fair enough. But she did say, she did reiterate that that their position is still that the councilman would be unlikely to support it. And I said, well, that concerns me a little bit because I said, I don't like unlikely. It still leaves it up in the air. I want a stronger stance because, and she did send me a link, which I did post on my community page of what they're looking at as far as what they believe. They're not 100, she's not 100% sure. She goes, I believe this is the guiding, still being used as a guideline for street vacations. And so she did send me a link, which I got after I made that post, but she did give me a link where recently, Hugo did turn down and voted no against a different street vacation. So he does have a history of voting no. And so that gives me hope. But so it's still an ongoing process. And so what I'm thinking is if we keep this pushback going very hard up and really hitting hard, maybe they will change their mind about even putting it in formally, so maybe we can do that at this point. And it's going to take just hitting it and hitting it hard and saying, we don't want this. And then maybe even the lawyer will say, you know what, I don't think you have the support for it. And we can prevent it before it even gets started.
And I'm looking at this thing on Wikipedia about street vacations, and it says for California, the city of Los Angeles requires a $14,980 fee paid to the Bureau of Engineering to begin the process of review for street vacations. So that right there tells me the Bureau of Engineering would be the first like formal step of that.
It is for sure. I mean, I confirmed that with the Bureau of Engineering, that it would start with them, and so and it goes to them, and then and I was also assured it's a very long process with many steps, and it does have a several different inputs from the public, for opportunities for the public to give input. I was also assured that I will be notified if they when they do formally put in for it, but I said, I'm going to be on it anyway. I'll know because I keep asking, and so we'll know when they formally do it. But I am hopeful that maybe we can even prevent them from even putting in that application by having already, taken a stand against it. So guys, don't get tired of speaking up because we may get them to back down and say, you know what, it's not worth it. We're going to stop.
And even if they do start it off, there's like a whole long process. They got to do public investigation, environmental reviews, different things that they got to like do. They have a checklist of different, things during the process. So there's things that could, if it does get to that point, it it's not looking good in my opinion for them getting the street vacation. But that doesn't
Right.
mean stop. Like, keep the pressure on about it. Keep bringing it up and bring up the ways that, like the ways that it's bad for the city. The way that, there's so many hospitals in the area. There's 3 hospitals.
Three, right, yeah, because there's Hollywood Presbyterian, well, Kaiser, and then Children's Hospitals. There's also a very busy metro stop a block away. But also, one thing with street vacations, excuse me, is that it has to benefit the public. It's not allowed to benefit a private entity solely. So it has to have, so say if you take over a spot, like say, some kind of like stadium takes a street vacation for an alley or something, but it helps the public because it access this space. So yeah, it's maybe privately owned, but it allows the public usage. And so that's part of what's required. So where would be the public benefit of them doing this? Because they would make it all about it's for they feel under siege. They feel they want to protect, they want to cloister. That's not what vacations are meant to do. It's meant to take the burden off the city, allow a private thing, but it still has to, on some level, it's supposed to serve the public in some way.
So if someone is trying to think of something to say, speaking out against it, one of the things to say could be there is no benefit to the public.
Absolutely. In fact, it takes away any benefit from the public because right now It's a thoroughfare for emergency vehicles, visitors, workers to get to these hospitals. It also, another thing that's very important in Los Angeles, it's something you may not hear everywhere else in the country, but traffic calming measures. It's very important to the city. Once they call accidents street violence here. And so they want to so by them taking away a public street as a burden to surrounding streets, right? Because then that traffic is diverted to surrounding streets, which adds more cars, more chance at accidents, more chance, more noise, everything. So it counters the city's own initiative for traffic calming measures.
And
Very
I,
important.
I, I've created, or not created, I've, what's the word? I put out the imagery of what if you live a block or two away and now there's more traffic because the streetification, you can't go on that street anymore. So more people are going on the other streets and your kids playing outside and it used to be safe because there's no traffic. And now all of a sudden there's more traffic and a kid gets hit playing outside because there's more traffic. Like, that's really bad on the surrounding neighbors.
Exactly. I mean, and that's exactly a big battle. That's what Cyclavia and everything like that. I don't know if anyone's seen Cyclavia, where they try to close a big main street to allow bikers to come. Like the city's very, very. One of its main goals is, well, they want everyone out of their cars and they want them using bikes or transportation. They provide a lot of e-bikes and scooters because they really are trying to get traffic off of the streets. But here, it would definitely add traffic because there's going to be traffic, emergency traffic. There's going to be people visiting hospitals and workers. So it puts that burden. So that was you're giving an excellent imagery as to why not to do this.
And and what about the fact that parking is so hard to find in LA? Like I was out there, it was so hard. Like I at one point I just decided to use Uber at sometimes. Like I did not want to try to find parking. So parking is really horrible. And the hospital doesn't really have enough parking. So what do you think about how multiple people have been talking about the metered parking on L. Ron Hubbard?
Absolutely. Well, that's another part of my email today with the council's district's office is that element. And they said, because the city has not been able to prove whether or not that is even a no parking street. And so they said that they're still looking into it. They're talking to their highest members of the DOT team. And, so they're trying to get an answer to this. But I said, okay, if the answer comes in that, you can't prove that it's no parking, the community needs parking, and you have a whole street two side. You could it's a narrow street, but they could make it in a way, whether it's a one-way street like Catalina's a one-way street, so they could have parking on both sides, or
They could have
there's
one in the opposite direction of Catalina.
correct, right, and make
That
it that's what the CASP report pointed out, that was a plan that they could do. And I'm saying, and the other part of it is that Scientology rents out a lot of their parking spaces to hospital employees. So what if these employees, they could choose to park on the street instead of having, because that benefits the Scientology. Okay, they get to collect the money that they charge for them parking there, and it makes the community drive by thinking, oh, look how crowded, look how many people are in Scientology, where it's deceptive. It's not. They're working for the hospital, and the hospital workers may feel, I don't have a choice, I don't want to be parking in there, I don't want my car seen there, and whatever, but I have nowhere else to park. So if they would open it up, I said, this street belongs to the community. I said, you need to know that it belongs to the community. Open up the parking. So we'll see, but it's a good argument.
but at the same time, there's also the Scientology is petty, and I think they allow people from Kaiser that work there. Don't they allow them to park in that parking lot on Sunset?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Right. And I believe they rent
Then
them. Like, I don't believe if
I,
I'm wrong
I
and it's free, I believe they rent to the workers who they have. But I said that benefits them because if they are making money, even if they're not, it makes the community think that Scientology is way more busy than they really are. Because if you drive by and like, wow, look, there's like 100 cars in their parking lot, people are going to think, wow, this thing's, this place is jamming. What is it about? But no, it's the and 90 of those cars, probably belong to the hospital workers. And if you were the hospital worker and you're not part of Scientology and they have all this, like, I wouldn't want people seeing my car in their parking lot, but then you're like, well, I have no choice. I have to work. So it will give the workers an option. Also, people that live on that street or in the street surrounding can't find parking. It gives them options, which they are entitled to have. It's their street.
And I heard something like L. Ron Hubbard Way is possibly the only street in Los Angeles that has no parking on it.
It is.
Like,
Yes, it's the only one that has fully non-parking. Like, there's streets that have maybe partial non-parking, no parking one side, but this is the only one that is completely no parking. But we don't know if that's actually true because there's no proof that it is. No one has been able, even the council, that they don't even know. LAPD doesn't know. Department of Transportation doesn't know. I've been knocking at all these doors for months now. Not one entity can tell me that yes, it's really truly now, years ago, I think in the 90s or maybe, I'm not sure the exact years, they did get a permit for no parking on Friday nights because of their graduations, and it lasted for 1 year. And I believe that
that,
may
that
be when those signs are posted.
that's several years ago.
Yeah,
By
quite a few years ago.
it's expired way long ago. So, but to me, it looks more suspicious. Like the city really needs to look into that because it looks really suspicious if it's the only one somehow, and it really isn't. Like if all the other roads have parking in some capacity,
Right.
why isn't there? Like they need to look into that. I hope that the news picks it up. I saw in your live stream you did some good networking. You talked to someone about what's going on. Uh,
Yeah, that was
I just
PBS, KCAL.
I wish that the local news would pick up a story that involves a lot of shady things that infect or they affect all the citizens there, all the stakeholders. Like this isn't just, a Scientology story. Like even for the people that have lived next to Scientology for decades and just dealt with it, and just zoned them out and whatever, it's just normal for them being there. Like even those people would pay attention to a story like this
I think
about,
everyone would. Yeah, because they could leave Scientology out of it in a sense, saying, "Well, it's there," and like in it that if they do, they should break the story. If they find out that it's not parking and they've been putting out, the city's been giving tickets, you can make it against the city that the city doesn't even know, the rules on its own streets. It shows you what level of ridiculousness and how much the city is unaware of what's going on. So to me, it's a really good story, and I would hazard to guess that if they got 10 calls a day or 10 emails a day from somebody saying, hey, from different people saying, hey, like I heard about this story that's in this report, that there's no red line, yet they say no parking. It doesn't look like a legit sign. We want to know the answers. Is it legit or not? They may do it. I mean, we should possibly be bombarding the media, different media outlets, and take Scientology out of it. Make it about the city because, the news likes to go after city corruption or city negligence. And if we take, and then Scientology will be put into the picture because it's right there, excuse me, as Scientology. But that may be a way to get media attention. Like, we want to know who owns this street. Is it no parking or not? Am I going to get in trouble if I park there? It's a valid question.
and what about the people that had tickets issued there? Like what happens if they, you know, how many years has this been going on? What if they paid for a ticket way long ago and they, really had
Lawsuit.
to give them a ticket,
They would
like
have
that's
a lawsuit and a joint, they would have a really good lawsuit because there would be no statute, the statute of limitations would be when they found out that it was incorrectly done. So they would probably have it 2 years from the day we find out that it is not a no parking street. And that's what
so,
they should do a huge claims against the city.
but isn't it really hard to like get a lawyer to do that all on your own? But I'm thinking like all the years it's been, I don't know what a action suit is exactly, but maybe that's a class, like a group of people all with the same claim go at once.
Mhm.
I don't know,
It
but
could, I
I
mean,
would
it's
think,
worth looking into, and you might find a lawyer that's willing to go take on the city for that. Although right now our city's pretty much, we found out the other day that it's bankrupt, and now they're going after everybody and everything, the private people to bilk them for every dollar. But like we were talking at the disability thing today, they're not going after, say, Scientology, right? You and other people have been bringing up that how much they could make in the fines if they would, really prosecute them for the daily fines for all their breaking the laws, the federal laws, with all the obstructions. So the city could be bringing in more money to pay all these lawsuits, but
and a lot of people are thinking about the ways that you could do different formulas for the fines and the fees and all that stuff. And people have different numbers at this point, like there's like a million out there, according to some people. Some people can break it down even more, make it to where they owe like 5 million. Like there's not a consistent formula for it. But even at the lowest that I heard, a million, that's a lot of money. And
yeah.
it's good when you're talking at these meetings to point out how the city can get money and just bring it to them. They don't have to really do much work with it. You're just giving it to them. And they should be happy about that. Like, cities need money. LA needs money. Money, money, money.
Well, they discussed that, and I was impressed that the two commissioners talked about that at the disability meeting today. The one was saying, yes, I can see as a city, we're not enforcing these, things, and fines that could be brought in. And then another one said, yes, but everyone, the whole city's being defunded. That even at the city attorney's office, will they have enough manpower to do those kind of suits? So it's like this back and forth thing. You have a broke city and had a money where they could be making money, but they don't. They just keep ignoring it. But now, can they even go after this money? Will they have enough manpower to do that? So it's a lot up in the air, but it's an important discussion to keep putting forward.
Okay. Is there anything else back to like specifically street vacations that we missed? So they haven't even officially started it yet.
Correct. That's the word I got today. It's they have the lawyer, okay, because I have the letters from him, talking about it. So he is definitely retained. But according to CD13, unless they're wrong, but she's saying that they see no evidence that it's actually been filed. So it could be that the lawyer's in the process of doing what they need to do to actually file it. But that's what I'm, so what I believe, like I said, just reiterate that the now's our time to make it so they know we don't want this, that the city is on absolute alert. We don't want this. It's a no. So don't even bother putting it in. And now they said that, well, anyone can apply. Doesn't mean they're going to get it. Okay, well, we don't even want them applying. Let's try to prevent them even applying and put so much pushback that they back down. Because sometimes that happens. At city council, they wanted to do um, that code where you won't be able to protest within a certain amount of feet from a religious center or from a government agency, and there was such pushback from that they backed down. So why, maybe Scientology will back down with enough pushback.
Right. And even if they do, okay, say that they do apply for it. I don't know if you know this, but if they apply for it and they get denied, are there any like stipulations, like they have to wait a certain amount of time before doing it, another application, or does it just like permanently mean no? Like,
I don't know if it means permanently no. Like, I guess they could always try, but it would be pointless if unless maybe they can down the road, if they, and I don't know this for sure. I'm not a lawyer and I don't know the code that well, but my best guess would be that with if it's the same people that said no the first time and nothing's actually changed, so either they would have to come back with a better offer, something that really showed maybe that it benefits the public in some way, that which I don't see them doing, or they would have to wait for a whole new crew of politicians to come and feel that they can safe point, may have to be a 10-year program and say, okay, we're going to spend the next 10 years trying to get certain people in office and work on them, because they're about the long game. They're not an overnight thing anyway. So I can see them doing that and revisiting it down the road.
Though if they did do it and they failed, it would be on record and like a precedence, and like they would look back
Mhm.
at it if they applied again. Like it would always be in record that they were denied it in the past.
Absolutely. I would think that something major would have to change, like what they look at for street vacations, the criteria that they have, that the city would have. And not only that, also there's the state element because actually every city street is actually property of the state as well. This is what during my research I learned this. And so the state has a vested interest in every city street. And so you would have to basically get the state to agree to it at some point. Not that the state intervenes all the time, but technically there's that state element. So if they were ever dumb, if the city was ever dumb enough to do this, I would go to the state level. And and maybe Florida should check that too, whether or not, there's the state element and whether or not they could appeal to the state.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think of it from that angle. Like, and then is there anything federal? No, because that's federal is usually not for streets. It maybe expressways. It might have something to do. I don't know.
Well, streets in the sense federal, it could be what they're doing on there. If there's any kind of trafficking, I would think ADA violations, things where there's federal laws that blanket all the states. Otherwise, the federal government tries to, give control to states and municipalities,
Well,
but
someone that is like a skilled lawyer might be able to find a way to block a street vacation hypothetically by, like a complaint about someone's rights, their or not their rights, about like discrimination and hate crime.
absolutely.
That would be a federal chart or a federal crime.
Reason. Or what about even like say that, you're around all these hospitals, there's a lot of people disabled that need a way to get through, and it's the quickest way there to be able to park there. Or, there might be more creative ways to fight it. And I encourage we all do our brainstorming, and it doesn't hurt to put the argument out there. I mean, even like you don't have to be a lawyer to put an argument out there. Somebody could write an email and say, hey, what about people who are disabled and they want to go see their doctor in the Kaiser, they want to go visit somebody and there isn't any parking there, or, like that street being taken away could prevent access. It just further harms or diminishes access for the ADA community. It's a valid argument. Throw everything and see what sticks.
And yeah, what we're kind of proving here right now is that there's so many different angles to look at this, and there's so much that we're not even thinking about. Like there's so many different ways to look at it. So it's
Absolutely. But put your doubts out there. Get them in there. Get them right to Hugo's office because I do. I regularly talking with them. So get into the business of if you really want to help out with this. Email them. Say I'm concerned. Like I want to make sure that you're not going to support this, and for whatever and give reasons. And when they start getting pressure, even with Florida too, when they start see one thing about politicians is they want to be reelected. Okay, so even downtown, so I think the politicians down there kind of have like they're juggling. They want people that they're putting pressure on them. Hey, rebuild our downtown, and but then if you have other people saying, hey, your tourism, we're not going to come down there if this is going on, and Scientology is dominating. Like they're always saying, okay, who do I have to please everybody? So they always have that pressure. So it's always good to be the loudest voice. Let our side be the loudest voice, and that's anywhere.
okay. And speaking of anywhere, there's other cities out there where people are protesting and where people aren't protesting. And, maybe it's good to look into these different cities and look to see if their city councils, public works have anything about street vacations, right away vacations, anything like that in their agenda. And
Right.
on a big level, anything about Scientology. But if they're doing this in Clearwater and they're trying in LA, anywhere can be next.
I think that's a
you
great
know.
idea to kind of look what they're doing in other businesses. It's not even. It's also, I would look into other cities with their building permits, or how many complaints against them for building violations, code violations. And if people would in their own cities, even if you don't want to be a protester, even if you don't want to call in meetings, what about just doing the research and saying, oh wow, look, like our Scientology here, and in Nantucket, they had five code violations, because I think that helps the argument too. If we start seeing a pattern of all over the place, there's so many violations, even if it's not on the agenda yet, they may not have even gotten to that point. I would say start looking at violations, and then reporting. If going and seeing if you can report, like if you see a code violation, report it, because that gets on the record that we can then people can then look at. I mean, as long as it's a legit one. And then what did the inspector say when they went out there? Oh yeah, they said it was a violation and they got fined. All that information really helps, and it will help other cities because it shows a pattern of how they behave
And
overall.
I've heard multiple people say that this aspect of the movement, or this activism, is not important. I've heard people discount it. I've heard a lot of just people don't even know anything about it, but it's really important. And it's not just about LA. Like, if if other places are doing stuff, like, no one knew in the community of people that view the streamers, like, who knew? I One person told me in my stream, and I amplified the message, but it wasn't spoken about with Clearwater until like the eve of the vote, and it was too late to get email comments in. So it's like,
Absolutely.
if you aren't able to do something and you want to sort of be anonymous, whatever, just help out with that, with finding out, seeing if something Scientology related is happening in your city or another city, you know, random cities across the country, across the world. Like, look into that stuff. And if you want to be anonymous, my in my description, I got my Gmail on there. Send me an email. I'll look into the information. I'll, see what's up with it. And then, if it's good info, I'll post it, and then people will share that. We'll get the word out about it. But
Absolutely. Can I
when
respond to the?
yeah,
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people not understanding. I think most people understand the importance of it. I've seen, maybe one or two a little bit here and there, but I think it's from a misunderstanding. There's different legs of a table, and one leg is, actual protest. It's very important to go out there, protest, and, make it known, helping the community to understand whether it's you're standing in front protesting or passing out flyers. But then there's the legislative, I mean the litigation part of it, lawsuits, very important, getting things on record. But then there's also the government, your local government, any level government, because they're the ones that make the laws. Like, they're the ones that can enforce infractions. They're the ones who are being safe pointed. They're not safe pointing businesses, they're safe pointing your government. So anyone should be able to understand and that's the one thing that with these planners that show. So if people don't understand why the planter situation is so important, it shows if the city won't, held them accountable for 8 months, and allows federal laws to be violated. It shows you how much influence they have over your city government. It's just a mirror. It shows you something. So if anyone's okay with Scientology having that much influence over their government, then I question whether or not they're really anti-Scientology, because I don't want Scientology having any influence on any government agency, city, public works, police, fire, any of it. All of it needs to be confronted and dealt with. And I think most of the people understand that. They don't want, anyone to have undue influence. So anyone that's saying that otherwise, then I question whether or not, they don't understand it, and we're willing to help them understand it. That's what these podcasts are for, right? To inform, or are they really, you know, but I'll
right.
leave that at that.
And And if they cannot get rid of the planters, if they can't do something simple as that, how do you expect them to just storm in there and save people? You know, that's a
Exactly.
bigger step.
They're
So
not
sometimes
going
you
to.
gotta take baby steps and you gotta take different angles. And I
Well,
don't
it's
know,
the
it's
first
really about
domino. It's
go
like
ahead.
the little thread, so that you have to unravel. You want to unravel the whole thing of Scientology, you got to pull the thread, and these little things are the thread. Because absolutely, if the city is not going to hold them accountable for the little, they're not going to go investigate and go in and take care of the big. If Because if they have that much influence that they can get away with anything, they're definitely not going to go in and rescue the seniors that are suffering inside or allegedly, or so it's all important. And it also brings eyes. It's changing the influence. Like, if do you really want your city leaders and your officers to only hear Scientology's point of view and what they say? No, you should want the city to hear the opposition. That's what I do with a lot of emails. It's like, I want you to understand what Scientology is, what safe pointing is, and I tell them, I teach them. And you don't have to be rude about it. You could just say, hey, do you understand what safe pointing is? You may be being safe pointed, and all this stuff, and it starts changing their perceptions. And look, it's had impact, because the LAPD no longer does the overtime work for their permits. They no longer, they're only there in the area of, okay, they have to give the permits, or they have to, I guess, manage things, but they no longer work their events. That is huge, and that was from this our deliberate campaign to intervene in their safe pointing, and that is a crucial element, absolutely crucial.
Right.
Sorry, I get
No,
very passionate.
no, but that's what we love about you. Like you can hear the passion when you talk. And, like you're not just doing your live streams for like clicks and views and grifting and, like all the keywords that they throw out there. Like you can hear you got that passion and you're doing it for good reasons because you're passionate. And I can't speak for everyone, but I love that about you.
Well, thank you. And well, I mean, I didn't even want to be a streamer. It's just like, but I am really passionate about this. And I don't think anyone should be called these names, because really, if you're fighting, you're putting yourself on the line, because Scientology does go after you and they fair game you, and you put yourself at risk, because you never know what, you may be the next one to be arrested if they, get somebody to, even if you don't really you're not committing crimes, they are trying so hard to defame us, to demean us, and to ruin our reputations with city entities. Like, you have to really believe in this. And so I hate that constant barrage on just any of us at all, because you're really putting yourself at personal risk to even fight this battle. So that's all I have to say on that.
Okay. So I'm like off topic, but this happened recently. Okay. Um, where is it? Gina said we need to get Janet off the CPAP. So when you went to the meeting, you had already talked to the captain about this meeting, email or something, asked him what time it was.
Yes, I asked him, because I stay in contact with all these people, and I asked him, when is the CPAP meeting, and he gave me the date and time, and then I asked him to confirm the night before whether or not it's still going on. He never got back to me, so I take that as, okay, then I guess it's confirmed if you didn't say otherwise. But then at City Hall, and the horrible point is, I didn't know that this wasn't being shown, but I guess my camera glitched or whatever. But Henry and I ran into Janet and Susanna Furios at City Hall, and like they were in the bathroom. I didn't go in. I said I'm not going to go in. But then when they came out, we were asking them, hey, like, why are you, like, we asked them questions, and and then they went into the elevator, and I was, at the elevator, and then they were jumping out. So I said, no, go ahead, you go. Like, I didn't want, you could go. But none of that, I guess they glitched out. And so, but then that happened maybe around noonish. And then that night, that CPAB was all of a sudden private. I'm like, okay, so I believe that they got in touch with the, because she's on that CPAB, and that the captain accommodated her and made it now not public. And so we're dealing with that. And whoever, yes, Janet needs to be off CPAB. Susanna needs to be off bid, because that's also bid. They haven't had meetings in several months. And I think it's because of protests. They don't want to, the comments. But then the people in the community that need bid to have their meetings are being denied. So, they could blame the protesters, or they can say, you know what, Susanna is she's she needs to step down so that bid can do its business, because she's the reason why they can't hold meetings. And same
And
thing with Janet. She's the reason they can't have public meetings, I guess.
well, let's not forget at one of those East Hollywood bid meetings, uh they were asked about the planters, and the guy in charge, Jeff, yellow shirt, he said, "Did you talk to Miss Janet about that?" So i- there she's influencing the bid as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Susanna's on the bid. Susanna, I
Right,
call
but
her Susanna
Janet's
Fournier.
still
She's actually on the bid. And he's also, don't forget, on the East Hollywood Neighborhood Council, and he owns the hotel where they meet. So you can see how it gets very convoluted. And in
that
spite of
sounds
that,
like
I'm,
a conflict.
huh?
That sounds like conflict of interest or
It,
something.
it
I'm not
sounds
a
like it, but so far the city hasn't said it is. But in spite of that, I'm impressed with that neighborhood council, because one of the members I have the email proof that she was looking into it and saying, hey, we need answers on resolution on what to do with this, with the planners. And then the other one, they did do a letter to say, hey, we have a right to know about street closures. So I do see them helping out. And, so I'm impressed. But yeah, but as far as, even if the city doesn't say there's a conflict of interest, we can stand up and say there is. We can go up and say, hey, you know what? We want you to step down. We don't feel that you're not managing this right. You keep canceling bid meetings for whatever reason, then step down and let somebody who's not afraid, or who will do these meetings, because the community has a right to those meetings. And same thing with CPAB. We have a right to look at CPAB. It's supposed to be open to the public. And so he's using a loophole to say, well, he found something in the bylaws that lets him do it private. But he's doing that to protect the interest of Scientology, not what's in the best interest of the community.
Did he ever back up what it was that was in the bylaws? Did he ever give any information on what it was? Because I could say anything, like people can just say whatever. Like if there's no like source to look it up, like I don't
Well, they
know.
have bylaws, but a complaint has been had, so he's going to have to deal with the LAPD overlooking all that. And even if he gets away with it, there's still going to be eyes. That's the one thing too with these complaints. If you complain against them, internal affairs is, even if they, at the end of the day, we get mad. Oh, they said, oh, he's not guilty. He's fine or whatever. There's nothing to do. They still had to review all of it. So they're still being educated in what the issues are and looking into it. So if they find and say, oh, well, no, he already planned that before these incidents happen, whatever, okay. But still, they are starting to realize there's a problem. There's a question, and there's a problem with this person. And then I am definitely going to be working hard to get Janet off of CPAB, and any Scientologist, until they are in right standing. They should not be in right standing, because with all these federal violations, and with with that street and everything, they should not be considered in good standing. And so so I would like some kind of rules, push for rules where the commission says, hey, you have to be in good standing to be on CPAB. There's different ways we can just keep fighting and make changes.
So that's something that would be brought up at like the police commissions, which are on
Absolutely.
Tuesday. But that's hard to get if you're not in person. It's hard
You can
to.
write. They have writing comment. Like, and that's what people need to. I would love for people to realize too, is that if there's writing comment, you don't have to put. Whatever you put in is going to be public record. So don't put any. If you don't want your name out there, don't put your name out there.
No
But
dox
you guys
yourself.
can put it in writing. Hello. Thank you.
I was just saying, don't dox yourself.
Oh yeah,
Like
don't, yeah, for sure. I mean, unless you don't care. There's a lot of people don't mind, their names out. There's people that do it every day. But but if it's something you don't want to do, you can put a different name, but it's still get it in the record. And because anyone, there's a lot of people that really monitor the police stuff. So when you put in written record, there's going to be a lot of people watching that. People may not watch public works, fire commission, all these other commissions, but I guarantee you they are scrutinizing the police. So put in those comments. I know some people are, they've been doing that. So keep it up. And thank you, everyone. And I
Yeah,
love that all the work that people are doing besides calling in. There are people writing in.
yeah, and writing in is important, but usually like the standard is for meetings they accept it till like the day before, usually.
Usually
So
5 p.m. the day before.
what happens if you miss the deadline? You still could write, right?
Oh yeah, because then what you do there, you can write the commission. They have their email address, so you can still write to them. You can write to every individual. And I need to probably get a list of all the email addresses and get that together. I'm sorry, I've been so busy with the few projects I'm working on, but that would be a great list if even anyone wants to help out with that. Is to get a list of all the different departments and all the different people and their email addresses, so you can even just copy and paste, put it in the email, write it every week, even whether if you don't make it on the time, you can write it after. It doesn't matter. It's going in there as part of the record.
And this isn't about like the ones that are blacked out. This is about the LA City ones that are like from Bureau of Engineering or LAPD or city emails, right? It's public figures.
Right. These are public figures. No, see, the reason it gets blacked out is like if I then request all the emails that people have sent to, say, Earl Suthers, then they're going to send it back to me with what they can send to me. So they may black out, email addresses or certain things, certain pertinent facts. So, but they are going to see it in the entirety.
Because like when I see it, like I notice a lot of it's blacked out, but then like the LA City ones, the LAPD ones, like those they don't black them out, and it's
Right.
like I think it's because it's a public official,
Well,
right? Like
I mean, it depends on
for
where
the
it's coming.
city.
They black out some, if it's coming from a private person, they might block out their email. But the police ones gives a lot of information. If they're willing to give it, they withhold as much as they can. But if they do give it, they do seem to do it on not too much redaction. But it doesn't matter. But now, when you put the one that's actually on the record for the commission, that's not going to be blacked out at all. Your public comment, and for city council too, your public comment will be in its entirety. There, it's not going to be blacked out.
All right. And I saw something like with DOA and his cases and all that stuff. I saw something that he posted from West Virginia, and that was very interesting. I don't know if people in here saw his post on his Legal Wars community post, but there's a letter that sounds like really bad that it's out there now.
Well,
And it's something to address at the police commission, I feel.
yeah, I'm working on that because and it's not about personalities or people who sides what side, none of that. The fight is against Scientology and its collusion and its influence over different entities. And if you have a police officer here trying to get try to escalate things for a Church of Scientology, but then they're overlooking all the neighborhood complaints, sound, right? We're talking sound complaints, and looking like there's neighbors who've been complaining to LAPD for years about their noise complaints against the city. I mean, yeah, against Scientology, and they do nothing. So how are you so going after for this violation because it's benefits Scientology, but they're not doing equal, for the people, like and what their complaints are. So it's very imbalanced, and that's what to me is valid of a complaint. So if you're so inclined, like I said, remove the people out of it that whether you're for or against, whatever, whatever, don't even look at that. Look at the government. You don't want any government corrupted, especially by Scientology. So just that's a complaint. And you can go to that officer and say, hey, do you consider, what about the victims that are saying the same thing about in noise? Like really, when they're doing their big music and the subwoofers, how is that not interfering with the religious, their own religious services? It doesn't make sense. So I think they should be called out on everything, regardless of, I don't care who it is in this movement. I don't care. None of that's relevant to me. I am going to stand up against corruption, period, point blank. I'll remove any of my own personal feelings. They're irrelevant. What's relevant is that there is some serious corruption here. And there's you can see the imbalance of how they favor Scientology so much that they don't get any consequences, even when they're pushed into meetings and the city comes at them. They get to negotiate and talk with it, but they don't really do anything for the people that are complaining, except maybe having a meeting. Oh, we'll talk to Scientology, but I don't see any real resolution. But now when Scientology is like, oh, we have these enemies, whatever we want to go after, we want here, and the cops jumping to help and finding whatever way. If they do it to one person, they're going to do it to you. They'll do it to me. They're going to do it to everybody. It's a bigger picture. So everyone, they've got to get beyond the the personalities involved, and just it doesn't matter who they are. Whether you love that person, you hate that person, doesn't matter. We have to
Yeah.
fight injustice and this government control and the safe pointing of Scientology.
And I have people and who have very different views across the board that are here watching. And I get that some people might just black certain things out because they involve certain people, but the cases for those charges is very important to everyone. And if they take rights away from people and say that it's hate crimes for non-hate crimes, like that affects everyone, not people that are just in this movement against anti-Scientology, but people that are against anything that are protesting. It it's not a good thing, so we have to pay attention to it,
We
you
do.
know.
They're coming out after our rights. This city does not want protesting because a lot of protests happen here. They're going after protesters. So they may be going after the small fish today, and they want to work their way up to other protests, but they are trying. And I even have the CPRA too of Scientology reaching out to the city council or the city attorney saying, oh, we know that you're trying to get regulations against protesting certain areas. We want to really help you with that. It's some kind of something like that. And I told you about that city meeting where they're trying to introduce that, and we stood up against it, and they backed down. But they are trying to help the city. They are part of that movement, and I don't, like I
But
said, take personalities out of it. It has to be fault.
speaking of that meeting though, what I remember about that meeting is it sort of they just snuck that in and you found out, and then the word was spread, to everyone, and people showed up. I think Streets was there.
Yep.
I think Jessica was there. I
And
don't remember who was there, but there was like a lot of people that were there that just popped up, and it it was, like amplifying the message because there were more people that were against it, that
absolutely.
were
And Streets was able to get like certain press people and just different people there at the drop of a dime. I think we had like an hour notice, or I was like, or a few hours notice. And I put the call out, and I'm grateful that they were able to get enough people there that it shut it down.
yeah, so like no matter what your feelings are about, Streets or Jessica, like they they showed up for that and that was really important. And they did a lot. They got a lot of eyes on the movement, like
Well, if that passed that day, we'd be in trouble right now. You'd be seeing
so
more of
yeah.
us in trouble. None of us, we would all have a restraining order against, none of us would be able to go to Big Blue. So
So
we have to remember that and take the personalities out of it and just let's do the job and get the work done.
yeah, and come together and making a presence when it's needed at these meetings, like coming together
Yeah,
and
but then you could go home and hate each other, right? But with
yeah,
but 9 to 5, let's work, at defeating this because it's horrible. It's whether it's Clearwater or here, and it's everywhere else that they're reaching the bottom cookie, and it's just like no, and so no one's going to be safe at that point.
Yeah,
They got everybody, every department, everyone. Like it's just so
I, I
extensive.
I feel that it's important to amplify something else. Now, we talk about Janet all the time, and then there's like Jennifer, and but who is Olivia?
Okay. Olivia Mc, I think her name's McDuff. I call her Mc, I forget what I call her McRuff or something. But see, what I believe now, mind you, this she has a big stake. She's been doing a lot with trying to smooth things over with the government. She has like a certain vibe, like she's trying to manipulate and have this certain narrative. And there's another guy, I think his name's George Gonzalez, whatever. But see, what I think is happening, they don't like a lot of attention, and we've giving a lot of attention to Janet, giving a lot of attention to Jennifer, and so it kind of makes them a little bit ineffective. Like they're kind of getting to be considered characters. We're kind of with all the pushback, the government's like, I guess they're hearing, oh, like they're, it kind of ruining their not it's kind of ruining it thing for them. So they have new characters. I'm not going to say handlers. I don't know what they are, but they are trying to get new faces in there, new voices in there. I think to pick up and carry on with their safe pointing with names that have not maybe have a bad ring because we keep saying they don't like Janet. She doesn't belong there and all that stuff. And Jennifer is just manipulating you also. I, I think Scientology gets that because they're probably getting feedback, from, oh well, Jennifer, and Janet, so they're putting in these new characters. That's just
Yeah,
my
so
guess. I mean, no one knows what's in their minds, but
I mean that would make sense to me. Like they would replace them and like phase them out.
yeah, and it worked in a sense because I know street services like Jennifer was like saying, oh, trying to do like tell me about this, and then he's like, no, he goes, Olivia's now like the person in charge or whoever it was at that, and then I can only talk to her, so. I felt like there was a little bit of, somebody was pushing back on Jennifer. Like maybe she's not as, she may have overextended her welcome. But she's also obnoxious in a sense that she'll go to the police department or city attorneys and say, here, these are the laws and municipal codes that we want you to consider. Like they don't know, like the police don't know what laws they can enforce, like city attorney, So she's so obnoxious with it that I think she may have overextended her welcome with some of these people, and Scientology knows it.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like with the security guards, they sort of switched them up at certain points.
It's true.
So
Well,
at
Ted
first
got a
they
lot. He
came,
got a little too famous too, or infamous, I should say. And you don't really see Ted anymore because, and but see, that's the power of the
but
voice and amplifying it.
I'm talking before that. I'm talking about when it was just the actual Scientology guards, the bike guards and everything. Odo
Oh, yeah,
and
Angel.
and Ken or Ben or whatever his name is. And
Yeah. Okay.
Jason or I don't know. Like there were so many different ones, but they were like Scientology ones. But when they would interact too much with the people with cameras, they would have to switch them out with other people, it seemed. And then
Well,
they switched it out and they started hiring the security because they didn't want those interactions or something.
they don't.
Um,
Well, I remember a few times, like with Jason and stuff, and like a lot of us saying, "Hey, we'll help you. We will get you out." And trying to reach them, their humanity. Scientology doesn't want us reaching out to their security and reminding them that they're human and they have family and that there are people that we're not these evil, scary criminals that they think we are. That we're actually asking them, "Hey, we want to help you." They don't want them to hear that. So it makes sense to me from a strategic standpoint that they would keep them inside or at bay and then put people out there that are not Scientology, but that will still, toe the line for them.
and like I don't hate the people in Scientology that are involved to a certain degree, depending on what the involvement is. Like if it's like top of the top, that's different. But these people, I don't hate them. I do not hate them. Like if they were to walk out and want to escape, I couldn't be there in person to help them. but I would find a way to help them. I would amplify it and help them somehow. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
care about these people in there. People I don't even know, like the people that are working sometimes like 110 hours a week for less than $50. And then the people that are on the RPF, what are they even making a week?
Less 1/4 from what I hear.
Well, no, that's the RPF. But
Right.
then there's the RPF, which there's a step. I don't know if people know that there's a step down too. Nora's talked about it. I don't want to say anything wrong because I'm not that informed, but there's a RPF's RPF. So when you're in the RPF and you get in trouble in the RPF, there's a lower level that they can. It's even worse.
Oh,
So I don't know if they even get paid at that point per week.
I hear a
Like I
lot of
don't
people
even.
don't get paid if they don't have their stats up. So even people who are not in the RPF sometimes don't get paid if they don't have their stats up. But I also, I agree with you. Well, I don't want hate in my heart for anyone. I have no heart. I don't harbor hate for anyone. It's a wasted emotion. In my point, I hate, what I hate the systemic of the system of it. I hate what they do. I hate actions. I hate what people do. But I like to differentiate the person from what they're doing because I'm a big believer that anyone could be redeemed, and so I don't like hatred, but but at the same time I agree with you. Like if Janet came and said, at the CPAP meeting, you know what, I wish I could go out, get out of there and be reunited with my son. I miss my son. I'm older now. I would help her in a heartbeat. Like no matter, I know she probably ruined a lot of life, whatever, but in a heartbeat, I'd rather go on the side of humanity and say and compassion and say I want to help you, because you have to remember all these people, they've been brainwashed, but you never know at what point they finally snap to it and have that aha moment, and I want to be there for it. I'm hoping that happens. Like I would even tell her, like, hey, if that ever happens to you, I'll let her know herself. I will definitely be there for you in whatever way I can.
Right. So we kind of went over what I had told you for a time. Do you have to leave? Do you have a little bit
No,
more
I'm
time?
good. I'm good.
Okay, because I think we're having some good conversations about this stuff. And, like, I just want to amplify, like, I don't hate the people. I don't, me personally, I don't know what anyone else's views are on this. I can only speak for myself. I do not hate anyone that's in there. I don't even hate David Miscavige. I hate what he does.
Amen.
I
Me
hate
too.
the action. I do not hate Scientology. I hate the abuses and the atrocities. I I I can't, I can't hate the people that their minds were messed with, and think about people that we care about that are ex-Scientologists. At one point, they were Scientologists, like, so I don't hate the people that are in there. When you get out, you can be different. You can be
Yeah.
better, but when
I
you're
don't
in
hate
there,
it either. I do hate their institution and everything it was built on, because it was built on horrible things. Like when you really look at what L. Ron Hubbard believed in and what he advocated for, it's horrific. I don't hate him. I don't want, like I said, I'm not here to hate anyone, but I can hate what they do. It's like, and I hate the principles. I hate their abuse. I hate the crimes. I hate all those things, but when and I take the
well,
personal out of it, and
I don't,
yeah,
I don't want it to be misunderstood what I was saying. I I hate the atrocities and the abuses, and pretty much every single bit of it is abuses and atrocities. So don't get it twisted, anyone,
no,
please.
no, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I 100% agree with you, 100%. Like we don't have like it's hating the people doesn't help, because if we hate them, we're not going to see them as being in need of help. And if you help them, you're helping. Even if they seem horrible and they're like the worst offenders, getting them out of that and getting them back to their own senses and who they are is going to help other people, because then there's a chance other people can leave. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know, like I see people that have escaped, but like there's so many more too. Not everyone is going to be all public about it. And I was wondering, like, is it at that point where there's more ex Scientologists than there are current Scientologists? Does
Good
anyone know the
question.
numbers, like where to find that out? Because I think at this point, or maybe if you break it down to like people that were in the Sea Org, there's more people that are out that are currently in it, you
That's a
know?
really good point and good question, and maybe something to amplify, saying, "Hey, look, all these people are out." I mean, I know their numbers are diminishing drastically, and part of the protest too, which is a really good point, is you want to prevent anyone from going in. So that's why protest. That's why I never down any other element of it. Like no one should down any aspect of it because the whole thing should work together. Like a table needs what minimum three legs to stand, so it all works together. So preventing people from coming in is important. And so their numbers are going to keep coming down. The only problem with me, what I see is though that the influence in the protest has not really gone beyond our own borders. A little bit in Europe, thank God for what they're doing, and what, um, you know, Miriam's doing in Denmark and different people around there. But when you have a lot of these countries, maybe the Ukraine or south of the border and stuff, there's still a lot going on, and people are being trapped and trafficked here with the promise of a better life, and then they end up in Sea Org. So, I would love to see it to get more global, to where there's a global understanding and stopping, and because that's right now where they're trying to get their numbers. They can't get it here in America. You can't really recruit too much here, but they can recruit in other countries, war torn countries, countries dealing with, impoverished conditions, and working on their fears and their where they're suffering, and promise them a better life, and it's all a lie.
Right. And okay, so like the numbers, how do we even find out the numbers for like how many people are current? If they count anyone that's ever bought a book or took a personality test, does that really count? What are the numbers?
I
So
don't
like
know.
even if you take all of the viewers that are paying attention to streamers and stuff that are protesting or doing activism or whatever, if you look at that number, I think that there's more people, more eyes on it than there are people that are currently in Scientology. I believe the numbers could be that low.
I do too, and I think a lot of and especially like with Sea Org, you don't. I mean, I think they have a lot of people in those buildings, so that and like elder. I think a lot of the people are elderly and they can't participate anymore, and they kind of house them possibly for their benefits, And I brought that up, like if they're getting all their Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security benefits, but it doesn't really cost them that much to house these people because they kind of throw them in rooms, and they're not being adequately really maybe cared for. So they're making money possibly off of these seniors. And there may be a lot of them because I believe that's when they were more in their heyday, maybe in the 60s and the 70s, and those people, a lot of them, they still may be there and they're caring for them, but they're not actively participating, and they're making money off them. But you don't see a lot of people. You don't see a lot of people coming in and out. You see a few, but not. They're trying to say that gets millions and millions. I don't see that anything that reflects that. You
Yeah,
know.
and I've heard people say that they skew the numbers by like personality test means you're a Scientologist for their stats
Gosh,
or
I believe that they would do that. Or like with the people that pass out the keys to happiness, or whatever whatever that is. Like that's and that's another thing to discuss too, is their secondary things, like their different groups that, like they have the medical ones that they have, like they can buy the Hubbard tech for if your doctor's office or medical, or study tech, and you're buying all this stuff, but that doesn't make you a Scientologist. It means that you purchased this management program of their tech. But I bet they do try to count all those people.
like if a little kid goes to get like tutoring help and It's what's that place? The It's based on L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh man, you put me on the spot. I forget the name of it all the
um,
time. It's right
but
there. Yeah.
like, does that count? Like, if the kid goes there for some like tutoring, do they
They
count that as he's a
They
Scientologist?
probably do. They probably do. I mean, I wouldn't, because even if you go to Delphi schools and stuff, I think you can go and not be a Scientologist. And even if you count somebody that goes and buys a book, does that make them one? If they go take an auditing class or something, they're interested in finding out about it, but then they never do it again, does that count? Applies? Yeah, does that count? Does that apply? No. But they probably do. They probably do.
Yes. Okay. The TikTok views are over 50 million views. So no matter what, they don't have 50 million. So it's like,
That could be people curious though to watch.
yeah. And
You
then,
buy bot views, like I would see them doing that, buying bot views.
no, I'm saying the views for like Jessica and Streets and you and all the TikTok people,
Oh wow. Well,
like
then that's a lot of people are being warned against going in, and well, I'm starting to see on TikTok too, where people are like kind of like these not like pranksters or whatever, going in and trying to get in and stuff like that. So I think it's becoming bigger that people want to see, or when we're at Blue, people are like, oh, we're here to film with Blue because it's crazy, and they're like kind of mocking it. Everything was mocking and laughing at them. So they're becoming the laughing stock here. They're not respected like they want to be. They're not. So they have to go outside of America, I think,
oh,
because I think.
and did you have a chance to see MD Media? He was there, and it was earlier today, and there was this guy, and he was trying to get help at Blue, and
Mhm.
they wouldn't let him in. The doors were locked. They wouldn't help him. He was trying to get help. The volunteer minister tents wouldn't help him.
And
Security
that's what
told
they
him to
do.
leave. And he ended up, Matt and him walked to the store, and Laura pulled up. Laura was watching the stream, and she pulled up, and they bought him some cigarettes, a drink, and he was talking the whole time about how, I don't want to spoiler, go watch MD
Well,
Media's,
I did
but
watch part of it. I couldn't watch all of it because I had the meeting and stuff. But I'm going to go back and watch all of it. But I did see parts of it, and I'm like, this guy's, I loved him, and
and his name is Military Mike, and he was in the military, and he has a really good perspective on things, like the military side of things, and he's very knowledgeable. So, and I
I'm going to
guess
go watch it.
he's low key famous in Hollywood or something. I don't know, Military Mike,
Oh,
but
okay. And I'm grateful to MD Media. Can I give him a shout out for, being, especially now that there's, restraining orders involved that, not everyone could go there, but that he's there with his cameras, even after like having surgery and, but still making that point to go there and make sure we have eyes on and getting to see, and then it helps. Like he's seeing this and then it activates Yvonne, who's doing, it just it gives everyone the chance to see what's going on, to do whatever it is to activate them further, whether it's speaking at a meeting, writing an email, whatever. So thank you, Matt, for continuing being the eyes and ears there.
yeah, and that's important, like someone to be there, because he was looking for help, and they wouldn't help him, and I'm glad
And
that
it's
there are two
support.
people there to help him.
And that's why Big Blue, it is important. Big Blue is important. I don't care. I will not listen to anyone that says otherwise. Because look, right then and there, because I know someone too personally, on House person, he wants to go there and protest because he was hurt with the fact that he went down there got their, the free food thing, and he was eating, and he sat down in one of their benches, and he was kicked off. He was kicked out, and he felt dehumanized. And this happened before the protest started. This happened maybe, I don't know, I think before COVID. And so it always left a bad taste in his mouth. Like, I came, you helped me with food, thank you. I sat down because I was hot and tired, and I wanted to have a bite of something, and you kicked me out. And what about, and a couple weeks ago, like there's a lady, that was sitting on the ground and they kicked her off. They do mistreat people on that street. And I think it's extremely important to keep eyes on. Yeah, you might not be able to, you know, get a million, everyone to leave, but there's, you can see how the disabled are treated. There's a lot of key evidence that we've had there. So it is important. I'm going to stand by that. Right.
Yeah, and I also want to give a shout out to Witch Share. She's been at Blue a lot, and going to Blue is important. And
I
she
agree. It's
does the
important.
talk, and like her music is so different from the stuff I listen to. So I'm like learning all these really cool songs. So that's another bonus, but she's out there a lot, and she needs to get, credit because she's awesome. She's putting in the work.
Yeah, and like the chalk talk, right? Exactly. That's important too. All of it, anything to bring awareness and bring eyes, and yeah, they may come and they power wash and vacuum the street afterwards, but don't think that people aren't noticing these things, and even their own Scientologists on the inside. For the critics to say, "Oh, you haven't rescued anyone out of there," okay, but that may, if you're sitting inside there, you may say, why is that person coming every day and, and doing, Matt always tells everyone, you're special. We care about you. Sorry, my God, and stuff like that. And so you never know, at some point that may be enough to get, because somebody, like all the people that left, right, something motivated them to leave. How do you know that that's not going to motivate people to say, you know what, maybe they're right, maybe I need to think about, maybe I need to look into it. You just never know. It's planting a seed. That's what it's doing. And sometimes you may have to take time for that seed to, be watered and grow, but you just never know. You don't know what good you're doing. You may not see instant results, but I just wish sometimes that the criticism of, what people are doing, or people trying to decide what's important, what's not important. Everyone can do like everyone can take a part. Do what's important to you. Do what you feel led to do, and and not try to tell everyone else what they need to do. I think that's important.
Right. And if you don't agree with how someone's doing something, then don't do it. Make
Right?
that
Do
choice
you?
not to do that. Like I feel like it's also good to have many perspectives on things because not one thing is going to work. It's
Right.
like tentacles, or I don't know. It takes a lot of different minds, and I don't know. But
Yeah, and 100 different approaches. Think about it. If they're there, and if we have two people doing something, they have to counteract two people. But if they have 1,000 people coming, they have to count. They have to spend all their time, energy, and manpower counteracting 1,000 different points of view on what they're doing. And so that's the point. It weakens them. They can't be everywhere. So it all matters. All of it matters. And I want to stop seeing the what I do is the most important, and what you do isn't. No, it's all important. And just because one person, if you don't understand what somebody's doing, that's okay. You don't have to understand it, but just leave them alone. Like everyone, we can all just stay in our own lanes. And if we don't have something good to contribute and say, there's no need to down what other people are working on. Let them do their thing, because all that does is demoralize, and that just benefits Scientology. Because if you can get everyone who's doing something demoralized to where they're like, then Scientology wins. So let's encourage each other. Personalities aside, encourage the good stuff. Whatever's good, encourage the good.
and
That's
what Dreamscape said is what I was trying to say. I couldn't say. I've been smoking, but Dreamscape said it so eloquently. Each protester approach may be perceived differently by each cult member. For example, one protester may be able to reach someone another protester couldn't, simply because of their style.
Preach it,
You know?
Dreamscape. Absolutely.
And like I
Beautiful.
remember, like there's times where people wanna tell them where to, look on YouTube. And it's like good to have different, different styles and stuff. So you can send them to someone that would, they'd vibe with more. Like you can personalize what YouTube link you're going to send them to based on like the vibe they're giving you.
Absolutely. And some may say, okay, the quiet approach is going to get, but you never know. Like the loud approach may work too, because someone may say, why are these people doing this day in and day out? You never know. No one can predict what is going to wake every single person up or anyone up. So just let it, just stay in your own lane. That's all I want to say. It's like everyone, and just let's be good to each other and help each other, not hurt each other, and and do our best to be, to remember the enemy is not each other. The enemy is an abusive cult that is abusing and dehumanizing human beings on a daily basis and is infiltrating our governments and that are looking the other way. That's the focus, in my opinion. I speak for myself.
Exactly. Like I'm speaking for myself, but there's a lot of people out there that I don't know, say it's a group and everything. And it's like I'm not grouped up with any. I'm my own person. Like
Yep.
I just want to make that clear. I think for myself. I make my own decisions based on everything I know about each and every side that I hear about. So like I don't know. I hate when people say that if you're in like a anti-Scientology movement, it's a cult. It's a cult of its own. And it's like, no, it's just people are passionate. I'm passionate
Hmm.
about this stuff and people are like-minded. And, it's like
It's like a
people think for themselves.
crowdsourcing. I forget how Mona puts it eloquent. Like it's like crowdsourcing. Like everyone, you start watching. I watch your stream. You watch my stream. Whatever, and you start getting passionate. You start learning about it, so you get more involved. It's not that there's some one saying, okay, you have to do this and you do this, and here's your marching orders and here. No, it's just that we're all collectively looking at this problem. We all want to help, and we all talk about, and then we all take our own actions. So that's how that works.
All right. Um, So Matt, he posted a militarytimes.com article about military Mike, and I can't click on it.
I would like to see it.
'Cause
I
I'm
don't
in
have access to
StreamYard.
the chat. Like I can't interact
Right,
with.
I'm in StreamYard, so it's like I can't click on
I
it,
don't.
but
I don't have that.
I'm gonna. I took a screenshot of it, so and I put it up here if anyone wants it. Long
Yeah, I
thing to
got you.
type in, but at least most of the link is like normal words. It's not like tons of letters, numbers mixed, But so
So
yeah,
now
like
we
more
have a new
people.
person who's interested in, what I mean, the anti-Scientology movement. That happened because Matt was at Blue. Let's
Yes,
keep it real. Matt was at Blue, came across him, so I will not be, and says I wanted to stop that saying to ignore Blue. No one has to ignore anything. Ignore the, and
ignore the haters. Like that's
there you go. And
um
and maybe even ignore certain interpersonal conflict. Let's keep our focus on we can't. We have to pick and choose. You know what I mean? Like right now, we want Scientology to be the ones like trying to fight all angles. Like they're spinning around, they can't figure out who to target because they're they have to target this email and that whatever. We shouldn't be in that position. We should be very focused and very know exactly what we're doing and where we're going after. We're going after a cult that is dehumanizing. They're trafficking. They are abusing, and just focus on that, and the rest can resolve itself. Hopefully through good communication or something in time. But I'm hoping that would eventually be all of our goals to say, okay, let's figure our stuff out so we can move on together and fight this. That's my hope and prayer, people.
yeah, and it's like everyone has their own reason for paying attention or being involved, and a lot of them are from stuff that they experience in their own life. So I hope people remember that like there's a lot of people in the chatter community that have been through a lot of stuff, and it's like they they're fighting for good reasons. They're viewing for good reasons. Like there's so many people out there with really good intentions for following this.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not something you can sum up and say the main reason is this. Because again, everyone has their different views, their different aspects. So whatever your reason is, just keep that as your focus. If things align with getting where you want things to be with your focus, then, that's good. If things, don't align with it, then okay, but you don't gotta hate on them because that's still another angle going against Scientology. Just ignore people you don't care about.
Or if you don't understand it, they could always reach out and ask questions like, why is this important? Why, I think communication is so important that, so instead of just downing, oh, I don't understand why you do this. So, I'm just going to hate on it and say it's not important. No, I mean, have a conversation. Why do you do this? Why do you think this way? And this is what these podcasts. It's information, but we get to talk about it, and everyone gets to think about it and grow from it. And we also need to have a little bit of grace, too. Like people are not perfect. I certainly am not perfect, and I can guarantee you, I make mistakes every day. We all do, and so sometimes a little bit of grace and a little bit of giving a chance that people can make adjustments and change and all this stuff. So I always believe in trying to look for the positive, look for the good, look for where we can, hopefully grow and all those things. And, but at the end of the day, if we can't, then just, like I said, work together to go and then go home and can hate each other, go home and hate each other. But but let's come together for where we can come together and just seriously take down this cult and just know that everyone who's put it and stomp with that. Like I hate all the, he's this a grifter and this a grifter or this or whatever. You know what? Just stop with all that. Whoever, and I'm not gonna, just stop. It's just everyone's doing their point. I wouldn't even care. Like if somebody came in here and they're fighting Scientology really hard and they're doing it because they want, money or fame or whatever. I don't care as long as you're doing the work. I don't care. Just but is it, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. What matters is what are we doing? Are we effective? Are we progressing? And that's what we need to focus on.
Right? And like it's I don't know, it's important to remain focused on, like priorities with stuff. Like sometimes you can just put things aside until you achieve a goal and then just I don't know. Um let's see. So but this military Mike guy, he's famous. Like I'm curious. I don't know. I see the article and everything, but I'm gonna do some research and see like if there's like YouTube videos of him. I want to learn more about him. But
Me
I
too.
hope
I'm gonna look into.
Matt runs into him, again. Like, but he had a lot of knowledge. And again, I'm not gonna go and spoil everything. Go watch the video. And Laura popped up, and she helped him out. And Scientology, they wouldn't let him in. And
I
they have
love
those
that.
10 volunteer ministers that are supposed to be helping people. And this is a military vet. And
And see
they,
that can be seen, shown. Okay, for all the naysayers that say blue, is not unimportant. That's a really good point. Here you have the volunteer ministers, right? They're doing all. They're here, and they always talk about how great they are, help, and they turn down a military vet, because what is and so it really shows their how they are, how they treat humanity. But it takes eyes on. Okay, you might not be getting 100 people, whatever. You only need one. That one story was enough. It was worth every bit of all the time and effort he put into going there. It's huge. And thank you, Matt.
yeah, so help Matt out. Go, like it, share it, put that out there. Help him out, help everyone out. Help yourself out, like get that out there because that's a big thing that happened today with military Mike. and
And
it,
write to the maybe write to the Veterans Administration. You know what I mean? Like write to people that can intervene. The CD13, Hawkla, and with the housing, every like think of who you can write to, and send a clip, and tell them that you want this looked into or you want this dealt with. You know, like get on these. When you see these stories, get into action. Do so, even if you only do one thing that day, do something. It will help a lot. You'd be surprised how much power you really have, especially collectively and time after time. It matters.
and if you really, can't do anything, just at minimal, go like his video, watch it, like watch it again and again, like help that video out. That's
Share
totally,
it.
yeah, that's totally helpful.
Absolutely.
Is there like a shorter clip, Matt? Like that's the whole stream, I think. But is there a spot where it's, I don't know, I thought I saw a cut version, but the link is in the chat for the live stream.
Or where at in the video is it? Like, do you have a approximate timestamp?
Okay, Matt's gonna make one soon.
Awesome.
So go watch it now, but when he makes the shorter one, go share that one a lot. Because it's easier to get the word out when you have shortcuts of things. Where
And
it just,
visuals are important. People, there's a lot of people that are visual. So you send that to Hugo and say, look, this is how your vets are being treated in your district. That has impact.
or send it to KTLA and
Yeah.
KCAL.
LA Times.
Mm.
Hmm.
And I think, they're legit, so they'd reach out to MD Media, and get his permission to use the footage, but I think that they would do that and probably interview him at the right news place. Like that video is very important.
I would send it to the VA too. This is how your veterans are being treated by Scientology. Because that's a veteran, that's just disgraceful. And that's going to
Yeah.
help too when they keep getting bad PR, and they're looking. See, they're trying to always see. That's how you counteract They have these hot, PR campaigns. And mind you, with the fires, they really took advantage of that here. With our volunteer ministers are doing this and that, and so they got an amazing amount of PR with the fires, and they were actually looking really good, and in their own, based on their PR. This is the stuff that helps counteract it, Matt. Like that right there is something that just it can undo everything that they are claiming that they are doing, and that's what's needed.
Yeah, and it's one of many moments, like so much has been caught on camera because of Matt, because of Witchshare, because of DOA, because of everyone. People in the past, because of Chris, Josiah, other Chris, Jessica, Streets. Like so much has been caught on camera, and that means something. That's a form of protest. That's a form
Absolutely.
of documentation of media. That's like, but
Gathering
it's
evidence for legislation. I mean, for legislation or litigation. If you're going to sue, if there's ever going to be these big lawsuits for loss of rights and violations, these clips are what's going to help with that. That's going to become evidence. How many, even the cases that have happened, have these videos not been up there to help exonerate, So it's very important. And I hope more people go to Blue. Like I'm going to try to, I'm so busy with the meetings, but I want to get, now that the weather's getting better, get down there more. I miss my TED Talks, even though Ted's not there. But I would love to
okay.
see more people go down there.
So I got a question that's sort of related. Like, you have a battery for your wheelchair, obviously, but like, what would it take for a backup battery for you to carry it? Is it too bulky for you to carry? Do you have enough? Can we, find a way to help you out with that or something? Because, like, sometimes I've noticed lately you've been running out of juice and you want to do more, but you can't do as much.
Well,
Like, or
if I brought a charger, like I would have to be able to charge it somewhere. Like I don't know if they're going to let me use their electricity, to charge there. So I think part of it, like with this chair, I wouldn't be able to carry another battery because you'd have to disassemble the chair to change the battery. It's just a matter of bringing a charger. But then where do I charge? So I think that, but my current situation is the motor, which my insurance will. I am, it's in the process. It's just a matter of you have to wait for the insurance to approve it and get the part. And so I'm hoping within the next few weeks. So till then, I'm still pushing it. Like I'm still willing to go risk it, as long, but I had to have somebody with me. So bike guy's been, he's been taking me even though like he's been rearranging his schedule because I need somebody that can like he knows how to revamp it. Like, so if it gets shut down, he can restart it. And with this is sweet. When we're talking about other people getting involved, even shirt guy, he's like, you know what? He goes, if you need me to come out to the valley to come meet you and and take you down, I will. I would never ask him to do that. And Matt was so gracious, saying if anything, if I'm stuck here, that he would come all the way out here to help me. I love that. This shows you what beautiful people we're dealing with. But um this will resolve. It will get okay. And as far as the charger, I guess I could you know carry an extra charger, but they're big and bulky, but I would need to plug it in. That's the only thing.
Well, like Matt says, you think they would have to let you charge it.
I mean, it's a good question for me to ask. I guess I could ask the
That's a
police.
way to see ADA compliance of something.
Could be. I mean, I could find that out because when I'm sitting there in the meeting in the back, I say, "Hey, let me charge up a bit," because that would give me more confidence. There was one day I actually, because I scooter like I am the type like I pace. I'm just a pacer. So like even in my chair, I forget that and I'll pace. So I use up a lot of the energy. But and there was one day I barely made it home, and I'm like, oh, thank God I did. But yeah, that's a really good idea. And thanks for bringing it up because maybe I need to talk to them and say, "Hey, can
And
I get, I wouldn't want to do my main charger. I wouldn't want to take a chance of losing it, but maybe I could get a charger and, and bring it and if they're not that heavy and bulky and just
and
ask them to let me charge.
you could point out to them that if you're charging, it sort of keeps you over there. So you're not, all up in the front and everything. It keeps you at bay, like that's popular for them.
That's so funny. Yeah, that one officer that's always trying to get me. Yeah, he would like that. I should go to him. But they've been really nice to me, and I have to go to the supervisor because they put up with my shenanigans a lot. Because they know I try to go there with you know, they they know I'm not trying to be any kind of problem for them, and
And
so they might.
there's a lot of amazing officers, LAPD officers that are at City Hall. Like there's a bunch of them and they are really good officers. Really,
Yeah.
really good. And it's so crazy to see them and then see the ones that are like, in my opinion, possibly colluding and that possibly could be corrupt, like the ones that I would label as like the bad ones.
Hmm.
It's so different, like the ones that are at City Hall. Those are really nice officers. Like they're doing their job. They're doing it the right way, in my opinion. Like,
Absolutely. Well, the other day, yesterday, the two officers, Sabra and I call him Kojak with the mustache. I was upset because I don't know if you saw that. I don't want to say they call him Pumpkinhead, but the city attorney, he said I was off topic, that the mapping was not on the agenda item, and I knew it was. So I was, he did stop my time, but by doing that interruption, and he found out, and he came back that he was wrong. I still lost what I was going to say because I had moved on to something else, and I didn't get to so it messed me up. So I went over to the two officers. I said, "Look, I want I want extra time or something because he interfered with my rhythm and stuff. I feel like my rights were violated." They both got into action and went and talked to him and tried to work it out. And the guy, he said, "No, I paused her time so she didn't lose her time." But the fact that they were concerned that I felt like my rights were violated and they activated that made me feel really good that they cared. They didn't just blow me off. So they are really good cops there. The supervisor's been great to me. Of course, Duarte, Mr. January and February. He's
Mark,
awesome. I've known him for a
really,
long time. I've known him for. I mean, we go back a few years, so it's not like I just met him there. But he's a lot of fun. He makes it
no, but
more entertaining.
he's really nice. I remember meeting him in person, and his smile is amazing in person. and his hair, but he
Oh yeah,
he's he's really not his personality and everything, like, but as
he's
far
a
as
lot
doing
of
his
fun.
job goes, I've seen him do his job, and you can tell when he's serious and he has to, do certain things more strict. He's about, what's right. He's a good officer. He's a good example.
He is, and he's balanced. He's fair. He's fun. He's. I posted a little banter between us. The other day because I came in and downstairs coming in, he was like pretending like he's harassing me and so it was fun. It was he's never done that before. I've never seen him down there. I've always seen him upstairs. But yeah, they're a good group, and even the ones that are a little bit more stricter, they're all really nice. So and they try to really help you understand the process there, and so they're a good group.
Yeah, and then
It's
you
funny how you confronted them. The confronted her. The I mean, I love confronting them. Whoever I like to get my comments in and banter with them. It's the cops or the city attorneys or the council. It's fun. It's like don't be intimidated by anyone.
I think she's talking about when they were calling you off topic. Like, I don't get why he was so hardcore about calling you off topic, because he should know. You knew what was on the agenda. You just didn't remember the numbers and didn't have the paper right in front of you. But you had read through it. You knew what you were going to talk about. You planned what you were going to talk about. So he
Yeah.
should have trusted that. And he was hardcore against you calling you off topic. And I really want to keep amplifying the fact, letting people know that I believe they call you off topic way more than other people, and that a lot of times I feel you are more on topic than the people they don't call off. Like, I was called off topic at the very end after I dropped how many F bombs, and I was not really on topic at all. You got interrupted so quick, during that same meeting. And uh yeah, it was just like, I I think that they call you I think that, in my opinion, it could be targeted.
Well, I'll give him some credit here. His Grote, okay, Jonathan Grote. He, he, I think he thought it was not on. He said it was yesterday. I think he had it confused. He said mapping was yesterday. I said, oh no, there's a mapping today too. And so it was at the very end. So it shows me he didn't really do his due diligence to make sure he knew it was on the agenda that day. But I'll give him credit that he did go and he did continue to look through the entire agenda and said and reversed it and said, you know what, you're right, it is on there. He goes, but you have to talk specifically about Wilshire. It's about Wilshire Boulevard. And so then, yeah, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to mention, Ron Hubbard Way because we're talking about Wilshire. But, and so then he didn't call me off then. Like, he did give me some slack. But I want to go back. I don't know if but a few weeks ago or a week or a couple weeks ago, he came up to me and he says, I thank you because, like, he thanked me for something I forgot. And I said, look, I said, and he said, I want you to know, he goes, on a personal level, he goes, I agree with you. And I'm like, whoa, that's big. I said, okay, then. I said, then give me some slack up there, I said, because, I'm here for a reason and I'm going to bring it in. So cut me some slack. And he just looked at me and said, like, just kind of, I don't know. So I feel like there's like I'm trying to build a little bit of a rapport with him as well, and that's my thing. I like to build like I know some people like they want to go and they just want to yell, scream, whatever. That's just their way of handling their stuff. Me, I want to be there. I want to try to build relationships and rapport because I feel like they'll listen to me more, and hopefully I'll get further that way. But that's with him. So look, we'll see.
I don't know. It's not about whether you had all your time, whether they paused it. There's another level. The fact that he called you off topic and you had to defend it threw you off and made it so you couldn't speak what you were going to speak. It threw you off. So you did not
Absolutely
get to use your time that you did have effectively because of it.
right, and he's getting a peer and correct for it. And I'm going to be telling him he owes me I told him you owe me an apology, and if he knows that, like I'm gonna push till I get one because that's the exact thing that like it's he did. That's the thing, and that cop Sopper he said that he goes yeah he goes it kind of threw you off your script, and I'm like well it's not like I'm speaking from a script. But you do. I plan on, like, I go through it and I kind of get in my head what I want to talk about. And I wanted to talk about the mapping, and saying how their map is inaccurate and stuff. So, it threw me off, but I don't know. But then it's kind of good because now I can go and demand an apology and I'll keep bringing it up over and over again. So it all works out good. Like, I don't get frustrated or upset or angry. You just have to use those opportunities, you know, to your advantage in the sense that it will work in your favor. You just keep, you know, pointing
But
things out.
you're really good at switching things up when they do that. Like when you have to, like it's hard for a lot of people. Public speaking alone is hard, but the way that you are able to adapt when they say you're off topic and they keep pushing and just won't budge on it. Like you do really good at that. And I think a lot of people envy that trait that you have. Like that your ability to do that is amazing, in my
Thank
opinion.
you. You just can't take it personal. That's I mean, if a quick tip on that, just don't take anything they do personal. It's like you have to see it's kind of like a game. It's your side, their side, and they're going to try to play. You're playing checkers, chess, whatever, and everyone's making a move, and you just have to do your move and kind of outthink them, or else, or call them out, or whatever, and just So eventually you'll get used to it. It's like I've been doing this stuff for years, and it's not like it's an overnight thing. So if it's new to you, you'll just grow and as you do it.
Right. So we covered a lot. We focused on the street vacation at the beginning. We covered a lot more since then. I think it's about time to wrap it up. Um, I hope that Audit can stop by more of my streams because I really love these conversations. It's really like amazing the knowledge that she has and
Oh.
all she's doing and you know, call
I'd
it
love
grifting.
to. I mean,
I don't
anytime.
But call it grifting, I don't care. Go to Audit's page. There's a wish list on there. She has a Venmo. She has all that stuff. Like, think of all she's doing. She's not asking for money. I'm saying this. But go over there, look out. I don't know, is Kirby still in here? Can you post a link maybe to her like link tree thing? But
Anytime, give it all to Ganja because you know what Ganja is. She's really stepping up, and she is saying, you know what, this. She saw the disconnect with not every, maybe not understanding everything that's going on, what this all means, and so and she's trying to educate too. Like, okay, let's break down the. I love the podcast on breaking down the meetings and the points and discussing it and giving everyone a chance to talk and air. And she's creating a platform where people can talk about it all and ask questions or get understanding. So, support her, for sure. Please, like, Venmo, whatever, whatever she has. And it's not grifting. It's, she's people are working hard. And I mean, me personally, I don't ask for anything. If I ask for anything, it's going to be for like, thank you everyone who helped get that seat cast report. That thing was so valuable, but at the same time, like, people are working hard, and Matt, everyone else who's doing it, just I know everyone appreciates whatever you do. Like, everyone greatly appreciates it, even if they're not asking for it. They're just we everyone's grateful because it's not easy and it's time consuming and it's so we appreciate you guys. Chat's everything. Chat is amazing. They're the wind beneath everyone's wings. Chat's the
and
real hero.
if chat or replay crew has any questions that they want me to cover on any of these streams, like I'm pretty sure as long as I check her schedule, I can get Audit back on here.
Oh,
So like,
anytime, basically. I mean, you are scheduled, but I'm always willing to and happy to help, Ganja,
but
and
if you have
that.
questions, if you have questions that you want to like be covered, if there's stuff you don't understand, you're confused about, you want to know more about, my email is in my description. ganjagirlyt@gmail.com. So, comment on here, send me an email, something, but let me know what you want to hear about. Thank you again, Audit, for stopping by. Thank you for it's more than double the time that I told you. I appreciate that a lot. But
No worries.
it's always good, like putting more focus on this aspect of things, I feel. And I
Absolutely.
feel a lot of people didn't know about street vacations and we might not be experts, but maybe it will provoke your thought enough to research it yourself, like look into things deeper, explore it a bit more. But
And you can
I
always like with the emails, right? Hit us up. I love getting the information, so send us anything. And I thank you, Ganja, for having me. I appreciate. Like I said, I had to figure out the chat thing. Whoever's there, thank you for being here. I appreciate you immensely. I always tell you that. I think the fact that you give us your time. I absolutely love you for that. And thank you, Ganja, for I'm really proud of you what you're doing. You're taking it up a step, a notch, and you're doing this, and I think it's great. And I hope everyone like share her stuff. Let's get her a bigger audience so people can because it's very she's doing she does the fun stuff too with music, and she's a really good writer in that sense. But I love that she's doing things that wanted to do and stuff, but it's just only so much time in a day, and she's taking that up and doing it, and it's something that we're all benefiting from. So thank you, Ganja.
Yeah. Oh, and shout out to Let's Go. Her videos are amazing too. And
Yes.
Kirby's mom, she's been streaming. Check them out. Check
Yeah, I'm
out the
excited
smaller,
that Kirby's streaming now. It's exciting.
but like pay more attention to like the smaller channels. Amplify them a bit. Like help them grow so that the views about the abuses and atrocities of Scientology can be viewed even more.
Oh, I
But
want to put one more thing out there if I can, like for Gone for Everyone, like the smaller channels to get their playlist going. So, and everyone just do their, if you can in the background, just do their playlist so they can get their hours in that they need for next level steps on YouTube. That's really important. So if they have a video out there, and just play it over and over again on a loop. If you can do that, it's so helpful to help them grow and get to the next levels.
yeah, I think it's something like you got to have like 3,000 or 5,000 watch hours or
Mhm.
something, or like, I don't know,
If everyone
some
does
weird high number.
It can go fast if you, but it's just people playing it on a loop. Like you get a playlist and just people just play it in the background. That helps a lot. So that's another way you can help streamers.
Right. Okay. Well,
And
that's
Joe
it for
Bananas is amazing too. I just saw that pop up.
yeah. Her songs are amazing. Go check her
Yes.
out. AZ Crimson. There's
Yep.
so many people.
So many
So
good people.
go explore the smaller channels, show them love. Some of them, you're already sub to, but go like their videos. Go help out where you can. I'll catch y'all later. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.